Go. Good morning, class. My name is Ms. Gomez, and today our lesson is going to be prime factorization using the staircase method. Before we go over examples, we're going to need to go over some vocabulary that you're going to need to know to do your problems. So take out your math notebooks and write all of this down. Our first vocabulary word is going to be prime factorization. Prime factorization is finding the factors of a given number that are all prime. When you write out your prime factorization, it's gonna depend on what your number is, but you're gonna write your number, and I'll use boxes to represent your numbers, times another number, times another number. It may be more than 3 numbers, it just all depends. So your next vocabulary word is gonna be a whole number, and a whole number is a number that doesn't have fractions. Prime number is your next vocabulary word, and that's a whole number greater than 1 whose only 2 whole numbers are going to be 1 and itself. So for example, your first prime number is going to always be 2, and then the next one is going to be 3, 5, 7, and 11. There's a whole list of them, but we're not going to get anything higher than 11 today. And then our last one is going to be the staircase method, is what we're going to be using today. It's a division process by dividing prime numbers. It's going to look like this. This is going to be the visual that we're going to be using. And when I mention inside the staircase, when I tell you to write a number inside the staircase, I mean right here. And then when I say outside, I mean all right here. Okay? So we're going to go over some math steps next. The first step is write the example problem on the first staircase section inside. So it would be this section right here. Step 2, you're going to go through the prime numbers starting with 2 and see which one can get divided into your whole number. Step 3, you're going to find a prime number and write that number on the outside of the staircase next to the first whole number. And then step 4, you're going to divide those 2 numbers and write the answer on the next inside staircase section, which would be right here. And step 5, you're going to continue this process until you result in getting the answer 1. And then step 6, when you're done, you're going to circle all your outside numbers, which would be here, and then you're going to write out your prime factorization. So let's get started with some example problems. Does anybody have any questions so far?
No.
Okay, so we're going to start. Our first example problem number is going to be 12. But before we start, let's write out our prime numbers again. So we have 2, 3, 5, 7, and 11. Okay. So I said our first number is going to be 12. So we're going to draw our ladder. And we're going to do step 1. Write the example problem number on the first staircase section. So 12. Then, step 2, we're going to go through the prime numbers starting with 2 and see which one can get divided into 12. So class, can 2 get divided into 12?
Yes.
Good. So step 3, once you find a prime number, write that number on the outside of the staircase next to 12. So what's 2 times 12? Or 2 divided by 12?
6.
It's going to be 6. Next, we're going to go through our prime numbers again, starting with 2. Can 2 go into 6?
Yes.
How many times can 2 go into 6?
3.
It's going to be 3 times. Can 2 go into 3?
No.
Can 3 go into 3?
Yes.
Good, so we're going to write 3 right here. How many times can 3 go into 3?
1.
1 time. So step 5, now that we have got our result to be 1, you're going to then circle all your outside staircase numbers and write out your prime factorization. So we'll circle 2, 2, and 3. And write out your prime factorization, which would look like 2 times 2 times 3. That is what your prime factorization will look like for your whole number 12. Do we have any questions? Everybody understanding so far? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. So our next number is gonna be 70. So step 1, you're gonna write your example problem on the first staircase section, which we did. Now we're gonna go through the prime numbers starting with 2 to see if any of those prime numbers can go into 70. So can 2 go into 70?
Yes.
Yes. So we're gonna write it on the outside. How many times, class, can 2 go into 70? It's gonna go into 70 35 times. So now can 2 go into 35?
No.
No. Can 3 go into 35?
No.
No. But 5 can go into 35. How many times can 5 go into 35? It's gonna be 7 times. So now we're gonna go back to our prime numbers. Can 2 go into 7? No. Can 3 go into 7? No. Can 5 go into 7?
Yes.
No.
No.
7 could go into 7. How many times can 7 go into 7?
1.
Good. So we have finished our process because we resulted in 1. We're gonna write out our prime factorization for 70. So class, say with me, what's our first number?
2
2
times 5
times 5
times 7.
times 7 is going to be the prime factorization for your whole number 70. We have one more problem before y'all get into groups and work on sums by yourself, okay? So our next one is gonna be the big number. It's gonna be 90. Okay, so we wrote down our problem on the first staircase section on the inside. Now we gotta figure out what prime number can go into 90. And we're gonna write it on the outside. So can 2 go into 90?
Yes.
It can. And it goes into 90 45 times. Can 2 go into 45? No. Can 3 go into 45? Yes. How many times does 3 go into 45, class? It's going to go into 45 15 times. So now we go back. Can 2 go into 15?
No.
No. Can 3 go into 15? Yes. How many times?
30.
It goes into 15 5 times. 3 can go into 15 5 times. So now we have 5. Can 2 go into 5?
No.
Can 3 go into 5? No. But 5 could go into 5. How many times?
1.
1 time. So we finished. Let's write out the prime factorization for 90. It's gonna be 2 times 3 times 3 times 5. That's the prime factorization for your whole number 90. Do we have any questions so far?
No.
No? So now we're gonna work on some practice problems. I'm gonna leave the definitions and the math steps up here so y'all could look back on them when you're doing your problems. You're gonna have 15 minutes to work on some practice problems and y'all could get into groups. I'm gonna hand out y'all's worksheets and then when 15 minutes pass, we'll come back up here and work on them together, okay? I'm gonna walk around while y'all work on those to see if y'all are doing everything correct. If y'all have any questions, just go ahead and ask me. Okay, so now that 15 minutes have passed, we're gonna check y'all's answers. Your first practice problem was 24. What prime number can go into 24? Can 2 go into 24?
Yes.
Yes. And 2 can go into 24 how many times? 12. And what number can go into 12? Prime number is going to be 2. How many times can 2 go into 12? 6 times. Then what next prime number can go into 6? It's gonna be
3.
Not 3, because 2 could go into, 3 can go into 6, but your first one's actually gonna be 2. How many times can 2 go into 6? 3. And 2 can go into 3, so it has to be 3. 3 can go into 3 one time. So your prime factorization was 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Did all of y'all get this to be your prime factorization for 24?
Yes.
Good. Let's go to the next one. Your next practice problem was 40. What prime number can go into 40?
2.
It's gonna be 2. How many times, class, can 2 go into 40?
20.
Good, 20 times. What prime number can go into 20?
2.
2. And how many times does 2 go into 20?
10.
10 times. What prime number can go into 10?
5.
No.
2.
2 could go into 10. And how many times can 2 go into 10? It's going to be 5. What prime number from our list of prime numbers can go into 5?
5.
Good job. And then 5 divided by 5,
1.
it's going to be 1. So your prime factorization is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 5, which will be 40. Did everybody get this as their prime factorization?
Yes.
Good job. We'll have one more that y'all should have worked on together, and that was gonna be 36. What prime number can go into 36?
2.
2. How many times can 2 go into 36? 18. 2 can go into 36 18 times. What prime number can go into 18?
2.
2. How many times? 2 can go into 18 9 times. So what prime number can go into the whole number 9?
3.
3, because 2 can't go into 9. How many times can 3 go into 9?
3.
3 times. And finally, what prime number can go into 3?
3.
3. And how many times?
1.
1 time. So your prime factorization is going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. Did everybody get that for 26?
Yes.
36, I mean. Good job. So now that y'all seem to understand it, I'm going to assign some homework problems that will be tomorrow when y'all come back to class. The homework's going to be on page 86 and do problems 1 through 20, okay? Do we have any questions? No? So today we learned how to do prime factorization using the staircase method.